Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Lounge. I am Zach at the Zach Bradley on Twitter and on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. Of course, you don't see anybody else on the video. I'm running our first ever solo show. So my co-host Nolan, you might know him as Fat Squirtle on the forum, he's out today. He's got some personal stuff. So we got to keep going, though. We got to keep getting these episodes out. So here I am. It's going to be a little bit probably of a shorter one. We're not going 45 minutes by myself, but, we're going to take a look at some crazy things that happened in week 5. We're going to hear from, of course, our title sponsor, the fantasysportsadvice.com. And then we're going to do some week 6 previewing, talk about buys and waivers and stuff like that. And then we're going to get out of here. So yeah. Look, week 5, right? So we had, I think it was 9 different games in week 5 that finished within a one-score range, which is awesome. That's awesome for football, for fans. That was really exciting. And because of those competitive games, we had some really cool and crazy, really fantasy outcomes. So the first thing I want to talk about, it was the Thursday night game on my birthday, October 3rd, which was the Buccaneers and the Falcons. And let me tell you that the Falcons were insane. So both teams were actually really good. The Buccaneers just decided not to let Baker Mayfield throw it, which is sad because it probably would have been like 80 points between the two teams. But what the Falcons did is they let Kirk Chains take over that game. So he went for 43 points, which, and we'll get to it in a second, was not the most points scored by a quarterback this weekend. It was second. But Kirk Chains went for 43 points. They won the game in overtime on a walk-off touchdown to a receiver you've not heard of. And then, pretty much the whole Falcons lineup, if you played the Falcons lineup, I think the total score from those guys was like 160 plus points just on the Falcons team. You did great. Kyle Pitts had his best game ever. Drake London was good. Pretty much everybody except for Bijan Robinson was good. So, and that's kind of been the theme this season for the Falcons. Really, if everyone else is doing well, Bijan is not. So, Falcons, great job week 5. After that, we had the Burrow versus Lamar duel, and fantasy points-wise, Joe Burrow came out on top with his Jamar Chase connection. So those two guys had 86 points this weekend. So if you played Joe Burrow and then you decided, earlier in the draft that you were going to get Jamar Chase and stack those guys, you probably had a good weekend this weekend. You probably won your games. 86 points is insane. Now, that doesn't mean that Lamar was bad. Lamar was quarterback 1, or is quarterback 1 on the season. Which is really awesome because I took him bravely in my personal draft, and I'm going to play him all year. So Lamar's sitting at QB1, QB1 and the number 1 player overall. So whoop whoop. But yeah, Burrow scored more. So great job, Joe Burrow and the Bengals. You scored scored the most points this weekend on that. That was a really cool game to have been watching. Downside is you lost. In real life, where things count, you lost in overtime. So, moving on, we had a good performance from Garrett Wilson. Give it up. Let's clap it for Garrett Wilson. Okay, this guy actually had like a game worth playing. Let me see. Garrett Wilson had 30. I think that's 36 points. Let me pull it back up. No. So 30.1 points against Minnesota. It's his first game over 14 points on the season. If we go back to last year, it is his first game. Oh, man. It is his best game ever. So it's his first game above 30 points, and he scraped that above 30 mark. So apparently Garrett Wilson got to London and thought, like, we're doing it this time, boys. The trust that you've had in me for 3 years is finally going to get paid off, which is awesome because Aaron Rodgers sucks. The Jets fired their head coach this week. Allegedly escorted him out of the building, allegedly. But while Garrett Wilson feasted, Aaron Rodgers still only had 15 points. If I'm not mistaken, our boy Brees also wasn't fantastic. Yeah, Brees had 6 points. So I'm glad Garrett Wilson was good. The Jets. Oh, well, I jumped off the screen for some reason, but I'm back. No worries. No worries. Okay. Next up, running backs sucked this weekend. So in week 5, running backs looked like they were trending down. Now we had some guys that were out. Your Lions players were out. So Jameer and David Montgomery were out. Saquon did not make it this weekend. He was on bye week as well. And then let me see. I think we had some other fellows on bye as well. Let me see. Yeah. So, the Lions guys were out. J.K. Dobbins was out with the Chargers. Saquon didn't play, and then Tony Pollard didn't play. So, a bunch of really good running backs didn't play, and you could tell. The number one scorer at running back this weekend for Week 5 was Tank Bigsby. And so, look, he had 26 points. That's good. But 26 points, which is the number one running back score this weekend, was only good for 8th in wide receivers. So if you played running backs in your flex this weekend instead of your wide receivers, it probably didn't pay off for you. It was probably a rather long weekend. Okay. So, and the last thing about week 5 is our tight ends back. So we had 18 tight ends finishing double-digit scoring. That's our highest total this year. I think the highest total was 10 or 11 players before that. We had 18. So you finally got some scoring out of your tight end positions. Now, I know what you're thinking, okay? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that you probably didn't play guys like Charlie Kolar or Brenton Strange or Mo Alley Cox or Jordan Akins to get to your double digits for your tight ends, but that's on you, okay? You got to do better, right? While this is fantasy football content for fans by fans, you got to look at the waivers. You got to hope that you get the tight end position right. But this weekend was at least a glimmer of hope that maybe these guys will help you actually win games this weekend. So, maybe when you're looking at your lineups and you're looking at your matchups, maybe play a tight end with a little bit more confidence. We finally had a bunch of guys that were good. Brock Bowers is good. Tucker Kraft, second week in a row, leading the position. 17 points last week, 24 points this week. George Kittle back on with 20. You had 2 Ravens tight ends not named Mark Andrews in double-digit figures, okay? So, give it a shot. Trust your tight ends a little, not a lot. Don't flex them. Just play it in your tight end spot. All right, so before we get to week 6 stuff, we got to talk about the fantasysportsadvice.com. That's the sponsor. That's the reason that I get to do this. That's the reason Nolan usually is doing this with me is they facilitate us to be able to give this content for fans, by fans. We can monetize our content if we want on the website. And if you're just a fan, you don't create content, you can go on there and you have access to all kinds of people doing podcasts and doing articles and doing rankings. Not only that, but they interact with you. You can post questions and you're getting answered. You're getting, like feedback from people who do this as a living and some people as a hobby, a la myself. And so it's a really cool thing. But take a look at this video. We'll get back to week 6.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
There you go. FantasySportsAdvice.com. Go check it out. Come interact. Leave me some feedback about the video, good or bad. It's all welcome. I don't care. So before I get to week 6, I did want to shout out 2 things quickly from my personal fandom. A, the Saints suck again. It's all right, Saints fans. We knew it was coming. So we'll see about that. And then B, in college football, my Razorbacks beat the number 4 ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Suck it. All right. Anyways, back to fantasy football. All right, so let's talk about who's on bye weeks this week. So it's another heavy bye week. We got 4 teams on bye week. We'll all be excited to get to next week because there's only 2 teams on next week. This week on bye week, you have Kansas City, so no Mahomes, even though you could cut Mahomes. You could trade him for something. Like he's just a mid quarterback this year in fantasy. Great in real life, mid in fantasy. No Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce. Apparently you need to roster Juju Smith-Schuster now. So you've got the Rams that are going to be out. So that stinks for you Kyron fans. That's you Colby Parkinson fans. You can't play those guys this week, so prepare. The Dolphins are out. Hopefully this will give Tua some time to come back because as a team, they stink on offense. Defense is doing pretty good this year, but they stink on offense. You can't really play Tyreek and Jalen Waddle right now. You were hoping you could play Devon Achane, and he got hurt. Okay, so Dolphins are out. You're not really missing their players this week, but you're hoping that Tua comes back next week healthy and they can play. And then you are missing the Vikings. Now, the Vikings have a bunch of players, okay? Sam Darnold has been absolutely killing it. For all of you that picked him up on waivers after week 1, because I doubt he was drafted unless you're in deep leagues, like 12 to 14 team leagues. He wasn't drafted. He's been great, and you're going to miss that. Of course, Justin Jefferson, he will be out. Jordan Addison will be out. Aaron Jones, who's been fantastic for the Vikings. And then we hope that after the bye week this week, moving into week 7, that TJ Hawkinson will be back for the Vikings. We'll see what that looks like. So if you drafted him, which you shouldn't because you don't draft injured players, or you rostered him later on to help hold him, his training window is open, he might be back. So those are our bye weeks. Don't play those players. Look at your lineups and take those dudes out, okay? Be better than that. You can be casual and still set your lineups, all right? Let's look at a couple of matchups that I just think are a little bit advantageous. These defenses are really poor, so these players are worth taking a look at this week. So for me, the first one is going to be the Colts versus the Titans. So if I go back to my defensive rankings, yards per game, the Colts are dead last at 400 plus yards being allowed per game. So I know that Will Levis stinks, but Calvin Ridley is worth a play for me here when they're allowing 419 yards per game. And then Tony Pollard, man, plug that dude and play. Like that's a really good matchup. It's not too late if you want to try and trade for him. If people are holding on to him, he hasn't performed so much that he's untradeable, but he's got a really good matchup this week, and I think he's going to continue to be good this year. The next one would be Caleb Williams versus Jacksonville. So Jacksonville is allowing 393 yards per game, and of that 393, 287 of those are passing yards. So that anybody is throwing on them at will. Caleb Williams just had his best game of the season, and now he gets a cake matchup against. Let me double verify. Yeah, the worst passing defense in the league. So play Caleb Williams. If you've got DJ Moore or Cole Kmet, maybe Rome, I would go for it. Conversely, I don't like DeAndre Swift's been good the last 2 weeks. Ever since we said he sucked, he's been good. But if game script is going to be passing and potentially a shootout, if the Jaguars are trying to keep up, it's not going to be the running backs. So, but I would look at Caleb Williams in this one. I would actually look to stream him if you've got Sam Darnold or Mahomes or somebody on bye. And then the last matchup worthy conversation is poor Carolina, who's allowing the most points per game. 33 points per game in real life, not fantasy, but 33 points per game in real life translates to a lot of fantasy points, is the Carolina Panthers. And they're going to be playing the Falcons. The Falcons just put up 160 fantasy points as a lineup, and now they get the most generous defense in the league. So any Atlanta player, if you want to play Kirk O'Chains, if you want to play Drake London or Darnell Mooney, maybe even Kyle Pitts, if Bijan was looking for a get-right game, he probably doesn't get a better matchup than against the Panthers. So if you've got an Atlanta player, I'd do it. If you've got, even like I said, Ray McLeod or somebody like that, if you need to, Tyler Algier, if you need to look a little bit deeper into a lineup for a flex play because there are 4 teams on bye, I'd probably still play them with confidence. The Panthers stink, and the Falcons are going to probably put it on them. Okay. Last thing I got for you guys before we roll out of here on our solo show is a couple of waiver wire ads. So the first one is Xavier Hutchinson. Nico Collins got put on IR. He's absolutely killing it this year, so that stinks. If you have Nico, scramble to get Xavier Hutchinson. He's going to be a benefactor of that. If you don't have Xavier Hutchinson and you didn't have Nico Collins, but you took a shot at Stephon Diggs, you should be pretty happy. Okay? Stinks that a player's hurt. But for fantasy purposes, Stephon Diggs is probably going to be a big beneficiary from Nico Collins going out. So maybe trade for Stephon. But if you're looking at waivers, Xavier Hutchinson is available. He's rostered in 8% of leagues and started in 3%, which is actually a pretty high start percent considering he's only rostered in 8%. But he's going to be picked up a lot. He had 2 catches this weekend on 3 targets. He had 10 yards per target, which is pretty cool, and then 15 yards per catch. So look out for the guy. I think he might could have a breakout game. And if not, play Stephon Diggs with confidence. The next one is Jalen Tolbert for the Cowboys. So Jalen Tolbert is rostered in 45% of leagues, so still below 50. I still think that makes him like a player worth talking about. There's lots of leagues that don't have this guy on a roster yet, including my home league. He's starting in 16% of those leagues, but that's going to go up. So he just had his best game of the season, scored 21 points. He had an 89% snap count. That's amazing. 10 targets. So he had one more target than CeeDee Lamb did. And he caught the game-winning touchdown and had 87 yards. So Brandon Cooks just got announced out. So Brandon Cooks isn't going to play. They're going to be playing the Detroit Lions, who have the 6th worst passing defense, and their running backs aren't so fantastic. So look, I could grab Jalen Tolbert. He's young. I think he's starting to gain his quarterback's trust. CD always draws the tough coverage. So you could probably get Tolbert for nothing for free off waivers today because it's going to get posted on a Thursday or Friday, and then flex play him if you need to, or roster him in case he goes off, and then you can play him for the rest of the season. The last guy I'm going to talk about, you probably shouldn't grab him on waivers yet, but drawing his first start for my New Orleans Saints is rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler. He was exciting in the preseason. He ran the ball. He passed the ball. And Derek Carr is going to be out with a oblique injury for 2 to 3 weeks. So Spencer Rattler is going to get his chance. He's got Tampa Bay this weekend. And look, Spencer Rattler, we're watching, okay? If you're in Dynasty, you've got him rostered. Or not, rostered. He's on your taxi squad. But yeah, you gotta take a look at Spencer Rattler this weekend. If he's good, could be quarterback for the future of the Saints. If he's bad, they'll try Jay Kaner next week, and then we'll keep evaluating our options. But look, there we go. That's what happened in week 5. That's a forecast for what could happen in week 6. That's fantasy football content for fans by fans. So again, I'm Zach. I'm your host. Find me on Twitter at @TheZachBradley. Find me on the fantasysportsadvice.com website. Nolan will be back next week, hopefully. If not, I will have a guest on. And looking forward to week 6. We'll see y'all. We'll see y'all after that. Talking about week 7. Thanks.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.